Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Primecast of 2019, episode January 2019. That's the new episodes we're doing, Tony, now.
Just dates.
We don't have numbers anymore, so
Fair
it's just
enough.
dates.
I'm good with it.
If you've never seen Primecast before, what you're watching is, here at Privateer Press, we like to stream a lot. We do at least 2 shows a week. We've been doing the Dev Hangouts every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Get Your Paint On every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Dev Hangouts usually myself, Jeff Olson, and Oz, and we talk about what's going on in CID and other things. And then Get Your Paint On is usually Jordan Lamb lately, painting models and just having like a sweet time and teaching us things. And Primecast is where we get people from different departments around the company, and we just sort of talk about what's going on in the world of Privateer Press.
2 weeks ago, we got Ron Cruzy on Get Your Paint On.
Yeah.
That was magical.
I was actually hanging out with Ron after work. We were playing some games, and anytime you get to game with Ron and see one of his armies on the table is legitimately amazing, because that dude's paint is awesome. So we are live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/privateerpress. If you ever want to watch one of these, but you can't make it because you're at work and your boss comes to see what you're doing and you're trying to alt-tab, but my voice is yelling too loud and you get caught, your fault. But you can catch it later on youtube.com/privateerpress. Prime? Yeah. Privateer Press Prime.
Privateer Press Prime.
I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer at Privateer Press. With me is my co-host, and let's see if I can do this the way it's meant to be done, John Swinkles.
Nailed it.
Hope it made you proud. Convention manager at Privateer Press.
True story.
So again, we are streaming live. We have both chats up, Twitch and Facebook. So we'll be talking to everybody as this is going on during our different little segments. So if you have any questions for either one of us or whoever we're talking to, please ask. We won't get to all of them. We'll get to the many as we can. And obviously, some questions we can't answer, but we'll try and do what we can. So let's talk about today's show and what we're going to talk about.
Stuff.
We're going to talk about the new releases.
We are going to talk about new releases.
Then we're going to have Jeff Olson come sit right here, and him and I are going to talk a little bit about a unique way to play War Machine, and something that we've been doing a lot more recently that we want to sort of remind everybody you can do and have a lot of fun with. Then, after Jeff leaves, Doug Seacat is going to teleport into the seat.
The tied for best Doug.
The tie for best Doug?
Yeah.
Who's the other Doug?
Hamilton.
No, Seacat's better.
Is that because of proximity or
No.
because like actual
I
preference?
love Doug Hamilton.
I love them
Hamilton-
both.
No, well, I
need double Dougs.
But one is better than the other.
Negative.
No, I mean, okay, Hamilton's a great guy. I've gone out with him many times. We played games together. He's a wonderful human being. He sculpts like a wizard. I love you, Doug. Doug Seacat is a better person, though. And that's just not, like, insulting. I just love Doug Seacat, so, like...
Well, and they're both in chat.
Yeah.
So while one of them will be here later, they're both virtually here. So
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
Okay, if I was going to sleep,
Oh.
and I'm laying in
Wait,
bed,
let
and
me-
I'm
let me
like,
get
tell me a
hunkered in
bedtime
here.
story, and there are 2 people that can just show up, Doug Seacat or Hamilton. One person I'm never going to sleep again. That's Doug Hamilton. It's because we're going to go out and have a good time, and I love you. But Seacat would tell me a story from the Iron Kingdoms and then lull me to bed. He brings peace to my life, and that's why Seacat is better.
But
Doug Hamilton, response in chat, what the hell? I do love you. After Seacat leaves, you're going to talk about conventions.
I am.
And then we're going to wrap things up. Yep. So let's talk briefly about some major important news before we go over the new releases. Right now, the biggest thing we want to talk about is our new Kickstarter.
Yes.
We just had the Art of Privateer Press Kickstarter go live. You can go find it on the Kickstarter website. Tony, can you post a link in the chat, you think? Already done? Tony, you're so good at what you do. And there's the link up on the page right now.
He's the best Doug.
Tony is the best Doug?
Tony is the best Doug.
Nah, Doug Seacat's still better. The Art of Privateer Press Kickstarter is up now. So we've been wanting to do an art book forever. There's so much good art from all the different products. Monster Apocalypse, Level 7, War Machine, Hordes, everything. And now we're kickstarting this big coffee table, sweet, awesome book. And there's different ways you can get it. Physically, digitally. You can get a model, one of the first Riot Quest models to be released, which also has War Machine and Hordes rules. So go check out the Kickstarter, follow the link.
Iron Maiden!
Yeah. Just this is something I've been wanting on my bookshelf, because I do enjoy big, thick, oversized, like, collector's editions of books and art books.
Oh, I'm a sucker. Yeah.
I am. I'm a complete sucker for collector's editions. And this is something that I think a lot of us have wanted for a very, very long time. So, go check it out. Links are in the chat right now, and the link's also up on the page at the moment.
Sabian Asher has a really good question after the Kickstarter. Will it go to retail? One of the reasons we went to Kickstarter with this project is because traditionally, books of this nature have not done super well versus retail, but based on demand, we may pivot on that. So we'll see.
Cool. So the other thing we want to mention real fast before we jump into anything is that we've got 24 hours, less than 24 hours left for the current mini crate model. That's the Raggedy Mandy, the alternate Ragman. Mini crates are a miniature subscription line. So if you go to mini-crate.com, if you wanted to get Raggedy Mandy, you have till the 19th, which is tomorrow. So make sure you go follow that link, check it out. If you sign up for the 6-month VIP, you still get the Alexia Handmaiden of Death, which is one of the sweetest sculpts we've ever done. So just one reminder, and then the new model will be shown very, very soon. Everyone will get to see what the upcoming next mini crate is, but don't miss out on your chance to get Raggedy Mandy. And if you're a Legend of Five Rings fan, like Jeff Olson, who's playing in one of the RPGs right now.
And me.
You're in one of the RPGs?
Huge.
Oh.
Huge fan.
Why don't you tell us about the current model?
So Hida Tamanatsu is one of the samurai of the Crab Clan, and she has the coolest pose and the coolest hammer that I've ever seen on a miniature. Like, I don't know how well folks can see the resolution that's on there, but the Crab Clan symbol is actually like etched into the side of the hammer. It is right now a contender for me as far as like favorite model we've ever made between that and Alexia. Alexia is what got me into War Machine, so it's like, it's one of those, it's a real tough decision for me.
I did not notice that the clan symbol was etched into the hammer. That's actually kind of amazing.
Apparently the engineers had a field day with that to get it to work out right, but they nailed it. And I am super impressed with that mini.
So February 5th, everybody, is the last chance to pick up that model. So if you're interested in picking it up, whether or not you're playing in the L5R RPG or just like sweet models, go check it out. mini-crate.com/L5R. Speaking of things coming out, we're going to go over the new releases. Whoop, whoop. Last Friday, today, and then what's coming out next Friday. Just so if you haven't been to your local store in a while, first off, shame on you. Always go to your local store. Just walk in and say hi. Just walk in and high five everybody.
If you have a tablet that you're watching this on, take it with you and go now.
Just run over there with us screaming. Primecast told me to do this. We do not endorse holding your tablet and running into your store screaming.
I did.
Okay. Last week, first off, Scorn, you got your treats, some of them. The Immortal Vessel came out. The Extoller Novitiate and Abadan the Keeper. So, the Exalted CID was last year. We touched on a lot of good models, created this amazing new theme that I think plays in a really unique way to Scorn, and it had some very key models. The Immortal Vessel is awesome, being able to channel in Scorn the different abilities brought. And then the Extoller Novitiate is like just one of those key support models. I expect people to probably be running 2, maybe 3 in their list, depending on what they're doing. I'm excited to see this really hit the meta and people playing Exalted in Scorn, and how that might affect LVO, Adepticon, definitely. So these are some really great models. And then Abadan the Keeper, he went through some major iterations throughout the CID, and now he's kind of become this like truly immortal, like you're never getting rid of the dude. He's always going to come back, and he's going to be a constant pain and a constant scenario, even if not scenario pressure, a contester that you always have to deal with. Tell us about the Monpok models coming out last week.
Oh, man. So we finally get Sky Sentinel.
Yep.
And I'm stoked. So, I mean, everyone who follows Monpok knows who Defender X is. Sky Sentinel is kind of like the leaner, meaner version of him. Like, he's a little trimmed down as far as like the weight and size, but oh man, that mini is freaking gorgeous, and I'm super excited to paint him. And then after that, we have the Guard Defense Building, which I haven't seen the card on that one yet. Why do I want a defense building versus, say,
well, all the guard buildings are really good for each of the individual factions. They're going to help you spawn things a little bit easier. Each have you different unique abilities you're going to want to bring to the table. The guard one in particular plays very well to the guard strengths, especially if you're running like the G-Tank army. So as you see more and more of the faction buildings come out, the Martians, for Planet Eaters and so on, each one is definitely, if you're playing that faction, and obviously you can play Protectors or Destroyers and you can mix and match, but if you have a heavy emphasis on a certain type of faction, if you're playing mainly Guard in your Protectors, these buildings are going to be really, really strong for that. Also, chat real fast is asking about if there was a name change of the Novitiate, if it's no longer Novitiate. Listen, I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. Novitiate. I'm going to call it Novitiate.
Yeah.
I've heard it pronounced 5 different ways. I'm just going to say Novitiate. I can't help myself, okay? Reverse Elm, by the way, just backed the art book. Now to stop by my local game store and pick up something to accompany the Hype Train. Thank you. Thank you very much for backing. And for all of you that are watching that have backed the art book so far, thank you very much. We do really appreciate it. This is definitely a labor of love. It's something all of us here at Privateer Press want to see happen. So
I've been having an ongoing discussion with Matt since I started, like basically 3 years ago, about how to get an art book out there.
Yeah.
So we are ridiculously excited about it.
Yeah, like we said, suckers for collector's editions. I just really want to have that thing out, and it's easy when people come over and they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm a developer at a game company. Oh, what kind of games do you work on? Grab that book and just show it to them. They're like stuff like this. So today in stores, if you haven't gone by your local store, here's what's hitting stores today. Kane Zero and Severius Zero are finally getting their retail release. They've been available at certain conventions for a while. I received, I think, approximately 500,000 questions of if Severius Zero was tournament legal, because a lot of people really wanted him. Well, now there's no possible question he's in stores.
Yep.
So go pick him up. Go pick up your Kane Zero. Also, the Tharn Blood Shaman is coming out. We're going to start seeing the more and more rollout of the models from the Tharn CID.
Yep.
Some of which are hits, some more, I believe, are still coming. But the Blood Shaman, the Warcaster attachment, is finally coming. And
I think every chance you get, you have to put Severius Zero with Tristan too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
You have to.
Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers.
Yeah, because that way you're messing with the timeline, and that's just the best.
I mean, Riot Quest is going to mess with the timeline. So.
Oh my god.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Monpok releases hitting stores today?
So, Demos 9 is the second of the Martian monsters that are coming to retail, and we've kind of teased him in the background of things a few times. That model is amazing. It's so good. I got a chance to check out while Jordan was painting it, and he was working on some of the Pterosaurs buildings that we showed as well. And I'm like, no, scooch Demos in there more, because he is amazing.
The thing I like about Demos 9 is Ares Mothership is definitely the more tricksy of the two monsters that you can play if you're playing straight Martians, which is what I personally play.
Yep.
You know, Ares has a lot of, she can't be body slammed. She's not like a super heavy hitter. She's not going to get in there and do a ton of damage. Demos 9, when you're playing the standard 2-monster game, is your heavy hitter. He's going to just
all offense.
Yeah, he's not all offense, but he's
Pretty offensive.
He is pretty offensive. Yes. Yes, he has attacks. But yeah, if you're playing a 2-monster game and you want to go straight Martians, Ares is going to run around and basically cause havoc and chaos, abducting people, generating new units with her manufacturability, and Demos is basically just going to beat the hell out of people. Also, speaking of if you're a Martian player, the command post, like we were talking about, the guard building is coming out. So if you're looking to play a stronger Martian force, like mainly Martians in your destroyers, you're going to want to pick up these command posts. They really benefit you the more of a specific faction that you're playing.
Yep.
Now, that's what hit stores just now, so go check it out.
Today, go take a tablet, run Screaming into your store.
Just warn them first.
The pending screaming is going to warn them plenty.
I don't know, man. It's 2018. Everyone's like or 2019.
Yep.
It's 2019, by the way. It's like, everyone's a little on edge. It's these scary times, and if somebody comes running into your store with a tablet in front of them screaming at the top of your lungs, I just feel like it's going to be bad for everybody. Like, just don't do that to somebody. Don't make someone's blood pressure do that. Just walk in. Walk in calmly and say, hello. I would like all the Privateer press.
All of it.
Next week, the Blood Gorgers resculpt is finally hitting. Blood Gorgers being a key part of Slaughter Fleet, which got updated some time ago, but the resculpt brings them up from the original metal models. They're just a lot bigger, a lot bulkier, and they're in plastic now. Resin and plastic.
Resin.
Yeah, resin, sorry.
Yep, resin and metal.
Just really easy to work with, and the new sculpts, brought in line with the Marauders, I think they look amazing. So if you're looking to, I did this with my Pharaoh Brigands. I had the original metal Pharaoh Brigands, 2 units of them.
Yep.
And then the plastic unit came out. There was also the Commandos. And I went ahead and upgraded everything just because they were so much bigger and bulkier on the base, and they just looked more impressive and more in line with the rest of the army.
Previously, the only way to get the resculpts was from the Slaughter Fleet Army box. And now finally you can actually just go get the resculpts so that you can have more of them.
We see a couple of questions in chat saying we need Plastic Immortals. Is there a chance of a resculpt size match of the Tharn ladies? I honestly have no idea.
No
we don't have any say over what any resculpts happen and what production cycles look like. So I would love to see like a ton of stuff resculpted and be done again. And it happens when they can. And every time they do, it's amazing. Like when Black 13th came back, when the new Behemoth came out, we've seen a lot of models. Even the original Steelheads. And can I just, the other day, I was playing a game with good old Mr. Will Pagani, and he was just looking at a box. He had a War Machine box in his hand. I couldn't see, and I was like, dude, what are you looking at? He's like, these are so good. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, steelheads. And I was like, yeah, they are. And he's like, they're just so good. And that was it. We were talking about how much we like the steelhead plastic resculpt. So yeah, we would love to see more resculpts, but it comes down to how much bandwidth we have. We have all these cool things we're doing, and there's only so much old stuff that can go back and get done. So in time, hopefully, but we don't know exactly when.
On an infinite timeline, anything is possible.
It is. So next Friday is the Blood Gorger resculpt. And then for all of you Monpok players, especially those of you that are doing sweet custom bases, of which, cheers to everyone that's done that. I've seen some really great, like, rubble-strewn.
Really good ones.
Yeah,
People
like
who've done parking lots with, like, tiny little details.
Tiny little
It's
cars.
so
I've seen
good.
one that had, like, tiny little 3mm people on it.
Yeah, I don't know even how they did that.
I don't know where you get 3mm. Or it must have been smaller than that. Was it 2mm? 2mm little people. Anyway, all the bases are coming out next week. This is unit bases, monster bases, and flight bases. So if you're looking for extra bases for any of your miniatures to be able to do some cool, sweet conversions, or you just need extra bases for whatever reason, those are finally going to be available in stores. A fun accessory, obviously not the most exciting model, but still very useful and opens up a lot of hobby opportunity.
Yeah, super useful. I see a bunch of people asking questions about LVO, lock and load, all of those kind of great convention things. I'll feed you baby birds. It's coming. But we got to get to Doug first.
Are you going to...
Or Jeff. Which one do we want first?
We're going to do Jeff first.
We're going to do Jeff first?
Feed you baby birds.
Yeah, I'm not going to, like, literally take baby birds and feed
Are you
them
going to
those
feed
birds.
them like a baby bird? Do not puke in the viewer's mouth. There are things we do not want to do on stream.
I'm going to take care of you and get you the information you need. Let's put it that way. Oh, hi, Jeff.
Howdy.
How's it going?
I get here.
It feels like it's been so long since I've seen you.
Yeah.
So everyone,
Seconds.
welcome Jeff Olson,
Hello.
playtest coordinator here at Privateer Press and newest member of the development team. How you doing, Jeff?
Well, thank you. How about yourself?
Please make it as stilted and weird as you can.
If your first time on Primecast isn't awkward, you didn't do it right.
So, first off, you've never done Primecast.
No. That.
How honored are you to be here right now?
On
On a scale of 1 to 10.
a scale of 1 to honored, I'm honored 0.5.
Good, you got it there.
And this is Jeff's last appearance on Primecast.
Please.
He'll be here for a while.
So there's something you and I have been talking about a lot recently that we wanted to talk about with everyone, and to kind of talk to some questions about get some questions from the chat about, which is, right now if someone says, what point value do you play War Machine at? What are you going to hear?
75 points.
You're going to hear 75 points, right?
That was like the most Price is Right answer I've ever given to
Anything?
I even like did the head bob to the mic. I was like
75 points.
It's like I was bidding on a dishwasher.
Yeah. So 75 points Steamroller has been the standard. And
Yep.
we get that a lot of people are going to want to play Steamroller games, and that's okay. Not everybody wants their narrative. But like you and I have been messing around it, especially with the idea and playing games. You've been playing a lot yourself recently, of playing less than 75 points in Steamroller games and like playing the other point values and what you can do in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 50 points, even
Yep.
25 points.
And this sort of came up because a couple weeks ago, Jason Souls and I were doing a playtest game, but it was a really busy day. We had some meetings and stuff going on, and so usually we try and set a period of time to playtest. And it just didn't really come together for that afternoon for us to get a game in. We wanted to test some new models, and we said, hey, you know what? Why don't we just play like a 25-point game? We can throw some of the new models and test that we want to put in there.
And you were testing Infernals at 25 points in that game, weren't you?
I was not. Jason was playing Infernals. I was playing. I think I was playing the Grimm Kin stuff that was currently in CID. I wanted to put it back on the table and kind of look at it from the perspective the community was seeing it at, with reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he was playing Infernals at 25.
He was playing Infernal at 25.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about that part because we don't really want to spoil any Infernal stuff, except the fact that he was.
You don't want to spoil anything.
You
I thought you
realize
meant like the
Travis's
results of the
head
game.
is going to explode.
I think the results of the game, I think, were relatively inconclusive in the sense that we were just kind of slapped something together. But the end result was, afterwards, I was like, that was actually a lot of fun. Like, you don't normally sit down and, oftentimes 25 points or 50 points or whatever, those the traditional or expected way of playing, because of, we've been very public about this is kind of how the game is designed, as it were. And it made me really start thinking about, like, playing the game at those smaller or even potentially bigger, because like we've got the rules for Unbound and stuff like that. Game sizes. And so like you and I have chatted about it a little bit. I played a couple of games with like a close friend of mine at Mox last week at our game store. I just had a great time with it, and I started coming up with like, well, what are some cool ways we could make it a little bit, and that's all stuff that we're just kind of brewing, like home brewing, this kind of cool idea, workshopping ideas. But
the thing what I found interesting, and sort of what I want to talk about, is where we're at now is, especially with Masters and Champions both being 75. We kind of said 75 is the tournament pregame, right? And then Journeyman.
And we're not like trying to change that either.
No,
we're very happy with the game at that point.
But what we're saying, like, so Journeyman comes out, and that's battle box up to usually a 50, 75 point value depending on what people want to play. And then the narratives are kind of in different places depending on which narrative event it is. But people have it's become like the set belief that 75 is the only way you play Steamroller. And I understand that because Masters and Champions are set at 75. And that lower point games are for either Journeyman, Company of Iron, or narratives. And what I feel has been lost is the 50-point game. That's really what I've picked up from our conversations. The 50-point game value seems to have like disappeared, and you just don't see it being played as much anymore. And some of that is from like, again, the standards we set for the tournaments and the different official formats. And some of that's from people sort of just, there becomes sort of 75 is the only way to play, so that's the only kind of games you can find, so no one plays to their point of values. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy on all ends, from our end and from the community and everyone. And so sort of is like a community reminder from me to everyone is like, I miss 50. I miss seeing 50, and I miss seeing people play 50-point games in Steamrollers, and even doing like Masters or Champions practice at 50. Even if they're going to be playing 75, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a great point value to play the game, and I think it's really inviting to new players to come in.
There's so much going on in a 75-point game,
Yes.
especially once you factor in, because it's not really 75 points, right? It's 75 points, and then everyone has about 30 War Beast or Warjack points, and then you've got 15 to 20 or whatever free points from your theme force. Like, it's actually, you're playing a 120-point game at the end of the day, right? So that's it's a big thing. It's a big investment. It's a time investment, and that's one of the things I really like about War Machine is it's a great, thinking cerebral experience of me trying to outplay my opponent. And what I really liked about playing a couple smaller points is I just kind of made a fun soft list, and we kind of moved models at each other, and we rolled some dice, and I had a good time, and I didn't sweat a lot of the details.
Yeah. And we see chat talking about different things about playing different point values and certain things that they feel going on. And I guess what we're saying is if you haven't played in a 50 in a while, or even smaller, but especially the 50-point value, talk to your local event organizer or be your local event organizer and give it a shot. Like, try playing some 50-point games and get a different experience, especially if you've been playing 75s nonstop over and over and over again. And like maybe you're like feeling a little bit of that burn, right? An easy way to mix up your experience with your miniatures is just simply changing the point value. A 50-point game of War Machine and a 75-point game of War Machine are actually surprisingly very different because of the amount of synergies you don't have access to, what it does to SKU lists, both positively and negatively. And I'd say try it out for a while.
Yeah, and I think the other important part is also remembering, like, this is a game. These are your models that you have purchased and invested time and money into. And at the end of the day, like, we can't tell you what to do with your models, and we encourage you to do cool things with your models. So if you're playing a 50-point game and you find out that Striker 2 is just super totes unfun or something to play against at that point level, then just you and your friends go, well, we're just not going to play with Striker 2 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay. It's cool to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, come up with cool reasons to play with your fun models.
Cheddar Caveman says, I'm told there's this thing coming called Riot Quest if I want a smaller game. Yes, Riot Quest is a much smaller game, but it has no rules in common with War Machine and Hordes.
Nothing to do with War Machine and Hordes, except
it is a total different game.
It is like a weird pulp comic version of the setting in a way, kind of. It's like weird alternative fun goofiness.
I sit on the other side of a kind of a short wall from where the playtest area is, and hearing Hungerford and Tony like cackling with glee while they play that game, and then a few random expletives thrown in is probably the best part of my day right now.
A few. No,
I was trying to be polite, but yeah, no, it's pretty expletive heavy, but in that really fun like kind kind of way.
Friendly Troll Player asks, hey, what's going on with Company of Iron? Just so you know, Company of Iron is still going to be supported with all the upcoming organized play. You're going to see some stuff for Company of Iron available in upcoming leagues and single day events. So as for any new products, I don't know if we have anything to announce on a new Company of Iron only product to buy, but when you looked at all the
Oz is still making
promo cards,
converting all the new models over. And
last
stuff.
year, I think I had 4 OP events that had Company of Iron specific scenarios in them. So, definitely keep an eye out on that.
Yep.
So, anything else you want to add about point values and just trying out different things with War Machine before we get Doug Seacat in here?
I mean, I think the moral of the story is if you find yourself, wanting to try something different or fun, then do it. Then give it a shot and play around with it. Don't be tied to this rigid structure of a document that we've supplied and take it as the only way to play the game.
Absolutely.
And don't feel that you have to. And if you can't, say you want to run an event. This is another thing I get from a lot of people that talk to me. They want to try and run an event at a smaller value, and their players don't want to, but they have a handful that do. Then just play open games with the people that are a handful of do it, and still run the events for what people want. You can accommodate multiple people at different times in different ways.
So my plan is I've been playing these little 25-point games, and I've been kind of creating my own little fun in my mind rule set of some slight modifications to things to make it work with my close group of friends that I will play with. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I'm still extremely active at my local store. If you didn't know me prior to working at Privateer Press, I worked at Mox Boarding House as the event organizer, running all the War Machine Hordes events. And my plan is to probably still be maintaining the structure of events we had at Mox for running tournaments and stuff. And then probably a once-a-month thing, be hey, who wants to just dawdle around and play little games for fun? Who wants to take a night off and have some beers?
I have a question for you real fast, because I know you were talking about...
No, we're done. I'm out of here. Doug, get on the camera. Oh, do it.
You said you're talking about playing a lot with friends. You and Jordan, our painter, are quite close.
No. Yes.
Yeah. So you've played Jordan a lot in War Machine.
Yes, there was a 6-month period where he did not beat me, and I tried really hard to batter him out of the game. He just wouldn't go.
That's all I wanted out of that question. I have no further questions.
No, that's right. Continue. What were you?
No, that's it. I was going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is Jordan at the game? You answered it.
Oh, so actually, no. Jordan is that. So the cool thing about Jordan is he is either I think he's the first or only Triple Crown winner at Mox. And so when I was running events at Mox Boarding House, I ran 3 War Machine tournaments a month. So I've run a lot of tournaments.
Yes.
A number.
36 a year if you kept to that amount.
Yeah. Then we had a couple big qualifiers and stuff, but that's not here nor there. Anyways, so the tournaments we had one called Monday Night Fights. Monday Night Fights was a quick $5 buy-in. You brought a single list. It was 75 points, and it was single elimination. And you had a 4-person pod. So you get matched up, and then whoever won, they would go and battle, and whoever won that would get a $20 gift card, the buy-in.
Yeah.
Then we had our standard steamroller, which would be on a weekend and be 4 rounds, and we'd have 20, 30, sometimes 40 people for that. And then we had a event called the High Reward, which had a $25 buy-in, and it was only 8 people, and it paid out $250 in gift.
Was it single LM, or was it
It was still
round robin?
It was Swiss.
It was Swiss, yeah.
Anyways, the point I'm making is Jordan was the first person to actually win all 3 events in 1 month.
Yeah, but nobody cares about what happened in Mark II. Is he good at the
this was
current?
Mark 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
Jordan, I'm not trying to discredit you. I do love you.
No, he's okay.
We're going to get Jordan in here as a rebuttal one of these days. Yeah. All right, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you. We're
going to see you off and get one Doug Seacat here. Yeah. Tony, do we have drums?
These are awful drums.
Terrible.
That's what I was trying to do, and it just wasn't happening. But next week, I'm going to try to have, or not next week, next Primecast, I'm going to try to have actual drum sounds.
Don't let me down.
I'm going to try. I wrote it. It's right here. Do you see it on my paper?
I see it on
I
your
wrote
paper.
down
Don't
my
let me down.
handwritten note, drums
I'm pinning
for
all my
Primecast.
hopes and dreams on you.
Make it happen.
I love you so much.
Once it's written down, it has to happen.
Yep. Once Tony makes a note of it, it exists.
It's Doug Seacat, everyone.
It is. It's me. Hello.
Doug, lead writer Is that
Yeah, that's what I've been for a while, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't matter much.
Yeah,
Lead writer, continuity.
Doug Seacat, right? I could be like Doug Seacat, and your title underneath your name could just say
Sure.
Doug Seacat.
That's all I need to say.
So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about something that's been on my mind a lot since we've been working on the Infernal material and also dealing with some Grimm Kin stuff of late, and that is soul goo.
Okay.
So
Ectoplasm?
Soul goo.
Goo.
Soul goo.
And ectoplasm would be a type of soul goo.
Oh, okay.
But there
Or
are
is
many,
that like spirit glue? Is it like
those are basically the same thing.
Okay.
When you're talking about soul goo, you're talking about things like ectoplasm. You're talking about spiritual essence. This is a big, messy topic. This would be the kind of thing that I might
gooey.
want to. I could take up an entire lore cast on this topic. So there's a lot of weird little fringe things that we could talk about, and I'm
Yeah.
going to try to kind of take us to a specific place.
keep
Okay.
your fringe out of the soul
But-
goo?
I guess let's start with the basic definition.
Well, yeah, the best way to think about it is if you're imagining souls in our setting, they're made of something. They're comprised of something. They are made of a substance, a spiritual substance,
Okay.
A goo.
which
if you will.
I'm referring to as soul goo.
Okay. Okay.
So
It's a thing you can literally touch.
you can. Well, it's invisible and insubstantial unless you're like a weird occultist, or
Okay.
it does exist.
Okay.
Now, the ectoplasm becomes tangible, and that's
Okay.
actually one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit. Is
Right.
we've one of the fun things about getting into Grimm Kin, getting into Infernals, the Strange Light Workshop is when it's allowed us to explore the weird side of the setting, where we're seeing that line between the spiritual and physical. And I think a lot of that's kind of been on my mind lately with some of the stuff that we're working on. The way that people in our setting think about souls is you have any living creature. It is comprised of both like a physical body, and then there's some kind of a spiritual side of them. Like even a squirrel or an ant might have like a little bit of spiritual something.
a wee
Just
little
a little bit.
Okay.
Just a smidge of goo.
Like an
Okay.
ant clearly
Has a drop.
Not much.
Yeah.
Hardly anything at all.
So is it actually like proportional to the size of the creature?
it's
or
more
the-
about will and thought and having sort of passions and emotions.
Okay.
So it's sort of that little spark that makes you decide to do one thing or another, and that's why ants probably don't have much.
So sociopaths, small,
But
soul
like
goo.
an ant colony,
Psychopaths, large.
you
soul
could
goo?
take more spiritual essence from an ant colony because it almost acts like an organism. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
So now, a lot of this is abstracted in the game. We have a lot of things in the game that have souls that probably really shouldn't. A soul is something that is like a concentrated focus of spiritual energy. You can almost think of it like a sun. A soul produces its own energy. It's like compressed soul goo.
Okay.
That becomes
like it's coalesced.
Yeah, it becomes
in-
a coherent
so can I
entity.
compress it in a tube?
You more into a sphere.
A sphere.
Yeah,
A
less of
sphere
a tube,
goo.
more of a sphere.
Okay.
And so the notion is when you die, that's when your body is like separated from your soul. And that's kind of, there's a lot of our cosmology, a lot of the magic in our setting has to do with this sort of interaction between your soul and your body. Necromancy, mortothurgy, all of that kind of ties into, you have this living being that has a soul in it or some kind of spiritual essence. In death, those things separate, and the soul usually passes on to somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it remains coherent. It's one of these things that like the occultists in our setting think of souls as being a very strong, impervious, immortal thing that stays intact even as it goes through these weird transitions.
Stays crunchy even in milk.
Yeah, it stays this cool sphere. But then there's things that can mess with it, like necromancers. Like a necromancer can kind of do that, like dark crystal thing of just like sucking all the energy out of a soul.
Got you, goo.
Leaving it like a gelfling that's been sucked dry.
I'm just sitting here quietly listening. I'm fascinated by this topic.
Well, yeah, it's a good topic. Like I said,
Starting
it's
to become
juicy.
a little horrified.
But we're heading in a horrifying place. So,
I'm ready.
So the whole Gelfling thing from Dark Crystal, that is exactly what necromancers do to souls.
Okay.
But at the end of that, you still have a thing left. Like you still have a soul that's there. It's just maybe withered and
transmuted in
sad
some way.
and it's been damaged.
Yeah.
But it can still exist.
Like the goo's dried up a little.
Yeah, it's kind of it's had a lot of the goo pulled out of it.
So it's crusty.
It's dehydrated.
Yeah, it's crusty soul goo.
But maybe it could recover over time. Like it goes to Arcane, it has some time. Maybe it's in a nice spiritual field somewhere. Morrow takes it in. Maybe it can come back from that.
It hydrates.
Yeah, it hydrates.
Okay.
Get some juice back.
Okay, got it. Got
And
it.
so, but what we've seen in our setting with a lot of our weird supernatural stuff is the idea of beings that are entirely made out of souls or the soul essence that has become something else, that has undergone something of a transformation. So things like ghosts. If you have a ghost, that is basically it's a soul that has become sort of twisted in death and is lingering in the world and has changed into something else and maybe become like nightmarish. It's almost like once your soul is separated from your body, what's going on in your mind becomes more important. Like if you're still sane, if you've got like weird passions that drive you, if you have unfinished business, that's going to affect sort of your reality.
Can I ask you something real
You
fast?
become something nightmarish, maybe.
Because so the soul goo is tied to your force of will, right?
Sure.
And sort of your sentience, it sounds like.
Yeah, at least the soul is.
The soul is.
Yep.
Would somebody who was lobotomized and had no brain thought whatsoever?
Well, these are the kind of experiments that somebody like Hexeris thinks about. But go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have my scorn thoughts. If somebody was brain dead,
Hungerford is Hexeris
do they have a
confirmed.
soul or do they create a soul?
They would have a soul, but it's possible that would cause some kind of, there could be a mirror of damage to your
So like
soul.
weird stuff would happen to their
Sure.
soul when they separated from their body.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have entities like the Soulless in
Just got asked
Iosans.
about by Grim Harvester.
The Soulless. One of the theories that we have about the Soulless that I think is probably cosmologically a little bit more accurate is that the Soulless probably have a soul somewhere, but it's not with them anymore.
Oh,
so
okay.
like they were born, there was supposed to be a soul. And now but who knows where it is?
Okay.
And like it didn't arrive. Basically, it's the package that didn't arrive.
Got it.
So you have your little Iosan baby, and then someone forgot to be like, oh, here's
Yeah.
your soul
Yeah.
nugget.
Soul not included
Okay. Right.
is what you happen.
Sorry for interrupting my question. It just popped in my head. And somebody said,
There's a lot of these. This topic has millions of side.
and I realized why I asked it.
threads.
Somebody just said in chat, #Cephalix thoughts. Of course, that's why I was thinking about it.
right.
They'll come in a second too.
Oh, I'm ready.
But what I wanted to say is like, so we have this thing that we've been able to get into lately of, what happens to these beings, these souls, when they become their own thing. And so you have your ghosts, you have your pistol wraiths, things like that. But then you also have things like the Grimm Kin.
Right.
And Grimm Kin, I think, are really fascinating because here we have a being that is a spiritual being that sort of takes on a body when it comes to Cain. It's like it becomes this form, and it's weird and strange, and it's
Like a pig riding a
yeah,
little
like
guy.
a pig riding a little guy, sure.
Yeah.
And the notion there is
Nightmare
that
fuel.
this isn't a form that's just affected by what's happening in the entity's mind. It's also what other people believe. It's like they've kind of become like a sort of a story made into a form. Like maybe a Grimm Kin was once a corrupted person who had like weird obsessions or something like that. Like a number we've kind of talked about with the Wicked Harvest, the fact that they're sort of hunting down those who have certain flaws or certain it
Certain
ties
sins or
it
whatever.
ties right into sort of folk tales. And so you have beings that have these kind of fundamental flaws, and then these stories get told about them over the ages, and then that creates these beings that are like these strange mythical creatures or nightmares.
Could a Grimm Kin come into existence from what was literally a folk tale that somebody just made up, but it got spread so far that everyone
I think
believed,
so. But there would need to be a connection. Like, I think the notion is that with the Grimm Kin, the thing that's one of the things that's fun and why they can be so wacky and creative is that they're almost like stories made flesh and given a reality. Probably not to the benefit of whoever used to be that soul.
Sure.
Right,
that
Sorry, Steve.
that might have been a guy before, but now he's a weird pig riding around on a little gnomish guy, and I'd have to say that's probably not a good fate for you.
No.
No,
but
it's probably worse to be the gnome.
but you're still an entity, so you can see like with ghosts and with Grimm Kin, at least you're sort of, you see that echo of that former being that used to be there that's now become something sort of twisted and different and strange. But then, going one step further, we've got the Infernals, and we've got what the Infernals do with souls, which is where the soul goo takes on a whole different kind of meaning. Because the Infernals, one of the things that's most terrifying about them is that they're really good at manipulating soul goo. Like, that's like their bread and butter. That's their economy.
Their bread and soul goo.
Their
jam,
that's
literally.
like the thing they want more than anything else. They can actually take a soul, which most beings in our setting consider to be sort of like this sun, this completely self-contained eternal thing, and they can take it apart and render it down to its essence. Like, they can take somebody that was an immortal being and turn him back into soul goo and reshape it and mold it into something else.
So they're like soul engineers.
Yeah, it's almost like they're taking this spiritual substance that's kind of at the crux of all things in our setting and turn that into other things. So, like, one of the things that we've discussed before in the role playing game, and that we'll also be getting into in the Infernal background, is like the notion that a lot of the what are the equivalent of warjacks or war beasts for the Infernals, or these like giant monstrous horrors, basically, that are created from souls they've gathered. Like, they take, like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 souls, melt them down,
and then
reform it into something horrific. And there's no real remnant of the people that used to be. Or if there is, it's just like in weird nightmarish echoes.
Yeah.
And like, that's to me, like, we've always talked, it's one of the reasons why we talk about the fact that, like, with the Infernals and what they do in Infernalism, it's considered like one of the darkest, creepiest things in our setting. And there's a reason for that. And it doesn't have anything to do with killing a lot of people, although they're good at that too.
They're literally unmaking you.
They're unmaking the otherwise eternal part of you. It's worse than being a drained gelfling.
They're taking your soul and deciding that, no, that's Legos now.
Yeah, that's Legos. That's a good way to put it.
Do they have more difficulty with, say, a Grimm Kin than they do a human soul? Because you said Grimm Kin are really unique, right? They are, like, if they take a Grimm Kin, which is a coalesced soul goo, right? Like a piggyback. We've been talking about that, right? Can an Infernal tear apart a piggyback and then use it to rebuild something else?
Sure.
Is it harder for them to do that with a piggyback than it would be just
Bob? It could be. I think it'd be different. And I think that one of the interactions there that's kind of interesting is the Defiers themselves. Like, the Defiers are almost these, like, godlike beings that are kind of on an equivalent power level as some of the higher up Infernals, where, like, there's some interesting parallels, I think, between, like, how the Grimm Kin come together and things like the nightmares that, like, the nightmares are, again, a tangible being made out of the dreams and fears of
literally
the Defiers.
like the child in the dream.
They have created their own, basically, it's another, you could think of it as another variant of a story made tangible. It's just from their own darkest fears. And so, like, they are creating a reality based on this kind of spiritual goo that's different. And I think that power has a certain there's probably a certain integrity to that form that the Infernals would have to work a bit at to get down. But I don't think it's beyond their power. And that's kind of where the Cephalics come back in. Like, I think one parallel that you could think of for the Infernals is, like, what Cephalics do with bodies and with living people is kind of what the Infernals do with souls, which I think is kind of interesting and horrific.
I think it's super awesome.
I'm terrified.
So there's been a lot of questions in the chat. People saying, why does the Old Witch want to stop Infernals? Why does she bring in the Grimm Kin? What is the interaction there? And so since we're talking about specifically soul economy and their interactions with is this something we're ready to talk about?
Well, there's a lot. I probably wouldn't want to get into all that. Again, this is a topic we could return to, but you got to think about the notion that there's this. If you think of what the natural cosmology of our setting is between Cain and Ur-Cain, there's a kind of a cool ecology there. There's a sort of a self-sustaining environment that involves living things passing to Ur-Cain as spiritual things, the gods being involved with it. There's a lot of processes that are sort of expected to happen a certain way, and the Infernals are very unnatural to that. Similar in the way that we've talked before about dragons being very unnatural. Dragons are sort of outside of the ecology.
I was just about to ask. So, like,
Infernals are another one of those things. One reason why it's horrifying is they're disrupting the whole cycle, and they're so like all the things that gods are doing, all the supernatural stuff involving Manoth and the Devourer Worm and Maro and Thamar. It's all kind of thrown out of whack by the Infernals, and so the old witch is creepy and strange as she is. She's still a part of our world. She in fact, we've shown her as being very much a part of certain strange but natural forces. She's part of the land. She's a guardian of the northern people and their lands, and she has her own ideas about where it should go and what should happen, but she's still a part of that system. She's some people think of her almost like a god, or she's pretended to be a member of the Circle Boros. There's a way that you could she's almost like akin to the Defiers. Like she's very much integral with these processes as they happen, and even the Grimm Kin, which are freakish and weird, you could consider as being either a part of the process or a very closely related tangent. Like they're
all bacteria within the same
they're
ecology.
living within the same ecology.
But the Infernals are a virus.
The Infernals are from beyond. They're from somewhere else, and they want all of the stuff that makes the spiritual ecology of our setting work. They want it for themselves.
Yeah, but she unleashed the Grimm Kin, right?
To try to slow them down, to try to interfere with what she thought was coming.
And is that because of their shared interaction with Soul Goo, with the Grimm Kin materializing nightmares out of Soul Goo?
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
A part of it also has to do, which I think was kind of a dubious plan to begin with, this whole inoculating Cain by like harvesting wicked people. I don't know. To me,
she's a weird lady.
There's some flaws in this plan, but the notion is. Historically, the Infernals have been able to facilitate their plans by making Infernalists, by tempting people to join their program, to bring them in, to divert souls to them. And so the old witch was trying to find ways to interfere with that. Like, how can she would rather have somebody turn into Grimm Kin than become like
and be
an
tormented
Infernalist.
for all.
Well, yeah, it's not good for them, but it's better for the ecology if you become a Grimm Kin than if you become a
Lego.
an Infernal or a spiritual Lego
but if
or
you-
spirit goo.
So
But
the
as,
question,
as me, right, as me or
As
John,
an individual person, it's
I
still
wanna-
probably better though.
just clean my memory and turn me into a brick. I don't want to have a pig ride me.
It's still probably better.
Hashtag go Team Infernals.
You don't want to be a Lego. You don't want to be a Lego.
I wouldn't know it though, because they would tear me apart, right?
But you'd feel it. Like
Not me.
but I
But
think
I'd forget it
I
because I'd
think
stop
you
being
would
me.
enjoy being a piggyback.
But no, if an Infernal got me, they would rip my soul apart and bring it to its like constitute parts, right?
So now you're just gone.
exactly.
But what if instead you could be like a cool like crow guy?
No.
That gets to run around, murder people.
No.
no, I'd be
You-
a murder.
My
I'd be a
Crow
my
way
choices
better.
are sentient oblivion or get ridden by a pig.
Then you're ripe for becoming an infernalist. Like if
Hell yes.
if that's the route you want to go, there's arrangements that can be made.
One is eternal torment
Like,
and one is peace.
There's some contracts you can sign if that's how you want to go.
Sign me up because I don't want to be ridden.
All right.
So the question I have, Doug, that
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can answer or not, before we let you go, is so you mentioned Infernals are from outside.
Yeah, beyond.
Are they themselves comprised of, or do they contain soul goo?
Sort of. I mean, the notion is that they are more spiritual beings, and so they're closer to, the substance of them is closer to what's happening on Urkane or with the gods or with the Defiers. They are not. They don't have like flesh and blood and organs and have to breathe. And
So Hungerford
things
and
like
I
that.
are Infernals, right? Because we signed the
Well,
contract.
no, you don't become an infernal. You
No,
become
but
an
we did.
infernalist.
Right, no, but we did.
But that doesn't happen. No, sorry. That is not a path open to you.
Okay, so two Infernals are hanging out,
Yeah.
and Bob the Infernal turns to Steve the Infernal and says, "I don't like you anymore. Deconstruct."
That's basically how wars between infernal societies could break down. Like the conflicts between infernals, they could be absorbing one another basically, and then you become more powerful. You get a staff,
Get a little
you
taller.
get a library, start talking to infernalists.
Get more smoke.
get some cool like squid scribes and stuff.
Yeah.
Some octopus scribes.
From what you've told me, and I think this whole talk has been fascinating, I'm totally down to be an Infernalist because like I'm a bad person, so clearly like I would become a Grimm
So
Kin.
you won't sacrifice everybody else just to buy yourself a little time.
He knows he's going to become the gnome that has a pig riding.
Like my choices are.
You don't have to become a Grimm Kin though. Why don't you?
Doug, I'm 38. I've made my choices, man.
Why don't you try to go to Urkane and like maybe have a cool little place, little pad you could live in like Morrow's domain, you know?
Because eventually something bad happens. Right?
Eventually, but that could be a long time from now. Like you don't have to become a Grimm Kin, is what I'm saying, Hungerford. You don't have to become a Grimm Kin or an Infernal.
Can I stay in the neutral place where I just like am by myself?
Then you get eaten by the Devourer Worm.
Okay, see, there's no. So my choices are like.
See, this is why I was wondering why you wanted him to tell you stories as you go to bed, because I guarantee these are darker and worse than what Hamilton's going to tell you.
Do you want to be eaten by the Devourer Worm?
No.
Become a.
You get tormented in his gullet, right?
Well, yeah, you get digested until like for all of time.
Okay, cool.
Or. Just have
correct.
a cool little place
Correct.
you live at in a Morrowind crib.
Be the new
But
Captain
someone
Icon.
comes and gets me there eventually along an
No,
infinite
they don't.
timeline.
That's very hypothetical, though. Most of the time, if you're in Morrow's domain, you're probably fine. You might have to serve on the wall for a little while. Like you might have to do a little bit of like some National Guard duty.
Sure.
And then maybe the Devourer Worm comes and eats you anyway while you're on the wall. But that's a
And
chance.
then I get
It's a
devoured.
it's a
Okay, and then I
small
get
chance.
devoured for all eternity.
There's no way to avoid risk entirely.
However, my other opportunity is I become an Infernalist on Kane. I get given power. I get to
Sure.
live like a king. Then when I die, I just forget everything because they tear my mind apart, and I cease being me, and I never have to deal with this crap anymore.
All right. Well, I will say, if you want a zero risk outcome,
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
Become an Infernalist.
Okay, done.
All right, there we go. So this is how Infernalists happen, everybody.
Right there.
It's the only legitimate right
This
choice.
is dark. It's a dark discussion. We're talking about Infernals. They're dark.
So cool. Well, before we let you go, Doug, is there anything else about your soul goo topic you really wanted to touch on?
No, I like I said, I think it's something we could return to. We've talked about souls a number of times because they are a real fascinating.
There's
They're an integral
so much
aspect of like all the magic and everything in our setting. Yeah. And we've tried to maintain a certain consistency and internal logic to it all, even with the craziness going on.
Right, like we know blight affects bodies, does it affect soul? We got
There's
so much more
all
we can
kinds
cover.
of
I think
possibilities
like next
on
time
this
you
one.
come on, if we do want to talk about this again, I have a ton of questions. Like I would like to know
So
when.
And if you want the name of an Infernal that you want to talk to set this stuff up, I mean, I have one.
Sure.
So we could do that.
Done.
Later. Well, next time we'll talk about who you should contact to sign your contract.
Zero risk afterlife?
Sure.
I'm in.
Zero risk meaning you are torn apart and become a part of a nightmarish entity that consumes
But
souls.
I don't know it because I don't exist.
Okay.
My other
If you
options
want-
are torment,
you want-
or things are okay for a little bit, and then torment.
If
you want
Oblivion comes,
Oblivion,
you can't have
it can
regrets.
happen.
Okay. Thank you for being on, Doug.
There we go. And anyway, enjoy your weekend.
Thanks. Woo! Doug Hamilton, I apologize for everything I said about you at the beginning of the show.
Told you.
So, before we start wrapping things up, normally we would bring the convention manager on to talk about conventions, but he's been sitting here the entire time. I still need drums, though, Tony.
And taking it again. See, I always lose it right there at the end.
Dude, you listen to a
This
ton
is-
of EDM, don't you?
This,
I'm like, Tony, drums, you're like, go.
Unsi all the
Blast
time.
beats. No,
Yeah.
it's blast beats. He gets that double bass coming in.
Yeah, you get.
Yeah.
Please feed everyone conventions like they're baby birds.
Conventions, like they are, baby birds. So as a number of people have brought up, the next official one that we'll be at is the Las Vegas Open, which is at the Bally's Hotel in Las Vegas. And that is going to be occurring February 8th through February 10th. And that one, a lot of the events are going to be run by one Mr. Tyson Koch, and he is one of my favorite people.
He makes some of the most amazing custom tables I've seen. He's done them every year. He did the Convergence table that had the actual moving gears in it. He did the giant Cephalix table. He did like a jungle table. So I'm excited to see what Tyson's been working on this year. He's an incredibly smooth organizer. So are Frankie and Reese, the guys that run all of LVO. Like LVO itself as an overall show is just
And
really, it's super duper smooth. And you go there. The events go great. Everyone has a good time. Everyone hangs out. You're in Vegas if you want to go gamble, but even if you don't, there's just a lot of stuff to do with everyone else in the community. And then the vending hall is great. We'll be vending, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So speaking of, before I get back to the vending and who's going to be there, I do want to point out, because I saw Travis in the chat, that also the ATC is coming up very, 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 very soon.
Yep.
Towards the end of the month. So if Travis is still around, he should totally post a link to that, because that is dope, and you get to see his smiling face, which is extra dope. As far as vending at LVO, we are going to have a ton of stuff. I am getting the final confirmations for exactly what, but expect quite a few pre-releases, and they're all awesome.
Okay. Any you can hint at yet?
I'm pretty sure we'll see a Clockatrice.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Like there's every reason for me to expect it, but shipping things can happen, production things can happen, so take that with a grain of salt. However, as we get closer to the ship date for when I have to send the crate to the place where we sell all that stuff, I will be putting out an insider that will have a list. So if you can't make it, you have ninja shoppers going to hook stuff up, I will take care of you. Moving on from Las Vegas. Oh, wait. Who's going? I'll be there. You'll be there.
Hello.
So both of us, plus who else can one expect? Jordan Lamb. So you will be able to get your hobby on, ask him painting tips and tricks, or just watch him paint. It's magical. And then the best looking man at Privateer Press,
Jack,
will be there with us as well. Jack Coleman, who is currently our customer service manager, will be there as well to help me run some demos, hang out in the booth, hang out with folks, play some games. You guys will all have time to play some games with folks, because that's kind of the main reason for us to go to shows like that. Spend time with you guys.
Yep. I think I'm going to bring Cephalix to play. I haven't decided
Cephalix?
yet. Yeah.
I will either be bringing my Signar again, which I got my butt kicked last year with, or I may have some Retribution stuff ready to go. Yeah. But I will definitely have some of them for some Company of Iron games, because people were talking about that earlier, and I love me some Company of Iron.
Tyson just showed up in chat, by the way. Hey, Tyson, very excited to come see you at LVO.
LVO!
And see your table, man.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's up after LVO?
So after LVO, you, me, and Matt go to Gamma to talk to retailers and stuff like that and get them hyped for all the stuff that we've already been spoiling for 2019. And then the next one that most of the folks in the chat have a chance to go see us at is going to be Adepticon in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is stupid close to Chicago. That will be March 27th through the 31st. You can get more details about the event itself at adepticon.org. I'll be there. You'll be there. Oz will be there.
Travis Marg will be there.
Travis Marg will be there.
I don't know that I'll have anything for Riot Quest to show people, like to play with them by then.
I don't know yet.
But if I do, I can't wait for it.
Like, for super serious.
Yeah.
And then right now, and this is a little subject to change just based on schedules and stuff, but you can probably also expect to see Jordan, Danny, and then Jeff Olson.
Yep. So more information on Adepticon coming up. There's a question in chat real fast. Crate98 in Twitch says, will we ever see new Cephalix models? We don't want to say anything too early, but I would say like a good source of individual models coming up in the future is going to be Riot Quest, where it's its own self-contained game, totally different than War Machine and Hordes. But every model we make for Riot Quest, we're also going to put out rules for War Machine and Hordes. So you're going to see a lot of different things coming out. And the previews we've shown so far, people have seen like Eris 4, Butcher 4, Boomhowler 2, and then new characters like Gubbin and Harlow and others. And I'm the lead developer on that game, and I'm definitely not a biased person.
Not even a little bit.
Not little at all. I know
Not at all.
The first one that I previewed after announcing that I was lead developer of the game was Captain Crawtooth, the Gatorman, with the sailor hat. So and
I need that model in my life.
Well, I mean, we're gonna make it.
I know.
You just go back there and get it.
I will.
So
because hot damn, I'm hyped for that model.
Aside from Blindwater, I think my second favorite army in terms of just aesthetic and look is Cephalix. So I'm not saying there's going to be a Cephalix in Riot Quest 100, absolutely going to happen. I'm telling you that it's going to happen right now. I'm not lying. I'm not saying that. All right, so what's going on after Adepticon?
So just to continue touching on Adepticon for a second more, do expect a return of some of the events that we did last year. You'll definitely see some Monster Apocalypse there. As Harvey stated, I don't know yet whether or not Riot Quest, but we'll also be doing the Armies on Parade and all that other kind of good stuff.
It's probably a little early for Riot Quest, but it's a maybe.
It's a maybe, and it's all of our fingers are crossed because, as I told you, overhearing these guys play it, Yes. After Adepticon, the next one that folks should be planning for, Lock and Load 2019. I mentioned last time on Primecast, and JR mentioned it the Primecast before, I believe. But the dates are locked. It will once again be at the Hilton in Bellevue that it was at last year. We're going to maybe shuffle some stuff around, but it will be June 21st through 23rd. So get your flights, and I will have more information about tickets and events very soon.
Cool. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for the January 2019 edition of Primecast. Couple reminders before we get out of here and all go to lunch. The Art of Privateer Press Kickstarter is live right now. You can go check it out on the Kickstarter page. Tony's going to put a link up.
And you don't have a ton of time because that ends next Friday.
Yeah, you have the next Friday. Go check it out. If you're wanting a sweet collector's edition of the Art of Privateer Press, War Machine and Hordes, Level 7, Monster Apocalypse, just is this great coffee table book to have in your art collection, or just you're a huge fan of Privateer Press games, make sure you go pick it up. You can get physical versions, digital versions, and you can...
Tony just popped up the site on the screen for a second there.
Yeah.
We're like $1,000 and some change away from hitting the goal.
Woo!
So we're going to hit that goal today.
Yeah, we are almost at goal right now as we're speaking.
Yeah. $48,138. That's freaking amazing. The other thing to keep an eye on, if you scroll down the page when you go look at it a little bit, there are some social stretch goals. So basically we're going to add stuff onto the sketchbooks based on people sharing this information. So do visit the Kickstarter page and then check out the posts that we've made on Facebook and Twitter and share those prolifically, because then we'll unlock some more sweet art.
Yeah. So go check it out. We're almost there. We're almost Kickstarted. And all of you watching that did back us, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone here has wanted this book for a long time, so we really appreciate you. And one last thing before we go, just a reminder, tomorrow's the last day for Raggedy Mandy on the mini crate, mini-crate.com. The next model's going to swap over on the 20th, so if you're wanting to pick that miniature up, you're on the fence. You have today and tomorrow, so please go check it out if it's something you're interested in. Also, for the Legend of the Five Rings current mini crate model, you have till the 5th of next month. So a little bit more time, but Raggedy Mandy is tomorrow. So.
Do not miss that model. Yep. Like, for serious, I'll be completely biased on that one. If this is your first time subscribing to a mini crate, get Hida Tomonatsu. The model is so good. So good.
So, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the Dev Chat and Get Your Paint On. Until then, everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
I am so excited to see Travis.
I am so excited to go eat at Jimmy John's with Travis.
For real.
I don't think there is.
I don't think a day could get better.